لله رب العالمين الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين شفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين وأصحابه المهتدين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصاب النبي عبد الله الحسين عليه الصلاة والسلام. What Imam Hussain Salamullah alayhi shows us is a person who is tested in terms of whatever he has proclaimed of his belief. He has believed and proclaimed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the sole authority. He has believed in social justice and righteousness. He has believed that Allah is sufficient. He has proclaimed faith that Allah gives and Allah takes. He has also proclaimed and testified by tongue that Allah does what is best, and as a human being, we need to trust and rely in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He also believed that whatever Allah does is a means for an individual to get to Allah and therefore to give in and surrender to the better judgment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we find on the plains of Karbala, it was a very severe, bitter test for Imam Hussain. If you can imagine the desert atmosphere, the thirst, the hunger, the anxiety, the fear, the loss that he was now facing. And for him to be very dignified about it and to be very upright and righteous in the face of these tribulations requires a soul that is totally immersed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and committed to whatever he has proclaimed as belief. It is not easy for a person to face such threat and not to give in to that threat and to opt for an easier option. He sees that no, if this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has destined for me, it shall come to pass. My task is one, to accept it and to embrace it as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes me to embrace. If his children are taken, on the one hand there is this grief, on the other hand there is this conviction that this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has destined. And if Allah has destined this, then let me accept it. And then, not only accepting it, let me grow through this event. This is exactly what Imam Hussain Salamullah alayhi does for us and shows us that that's an opportunity. You have already stated that Allah governs all affairs. You do the right thing. When you do the right thing, then leave the consequences up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and embrace it. But not only that, make it a means to grow towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's amazing. The more he progresses in his battle on the day of Ashura, the more the tribulations increase upon him, and the greater does his soul become enlightened, and more refined do his prayers become to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you look at every one of his prayers on the day of Ashura, they are more refined than the previous ones, more godly, more monotheistic, more spiritual, more intense, and more deep-rooted with this intimate belonging to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At one point he says, أَنْتَ ثِقَتِي فِي كُلِّ حَالِ وَلَا مَعْبُودَ سِوَاكَ. You are the one I rely upon in every affair. There is no one worthy of worship other than you. At another point, when his son falls, he says, O Lord, what makes it easier for me to bear is that you accompany me in this tribulation and you witness it. O you who preserves every soul with whatever they have done. One of his final prayers was this: "O Lord, you are grand in your ranks. You are very near. You respond every plea." It is phenomenal the way in which his prayers are reflecting the intensity of his belonging to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the further he goes, the greater this belonging becomes. In fact, Imam Hussein shows that in this tribulation, how he is growing towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and removing all other than Allah from his soul. Overcoming psychological fears is a great test. We all tend to make slips. What if we become poor? What if we become sick? What if our children are taken away from us? What if this world collapses in front of us? These psychological anxieties prompt us to worship God, don't they? They prompt us at times to take caution. At times, they make us compromise our very principles. Now, he is faced with them, but he does not compromise his principles. He says, "Mithli la yubayi'u mithla." That's an absolute position he acquires. The likes of me cannot pledge allegiance to the likes of Yazid. He is not saying, "I, Hussein, as Hussein, who is better than him, will not pledge allegiance to him." He's talking on the basis of principles here. He says, "The likes of me do not pledge allegiance to the likes of him." He is basing it on a principle that God has certain expectations of me, and I cannot bend those expectations. Had it not been for these expectations from God, even then he says, "The likes of me," i.e., righteous, upright people, who are God-loving people, cannot pay allegiance to people who plunder the wealth of the Muslims, who spill the blood of the innocent people, who violate the beautiful divine commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, "It is below my dignity." Now, beautifully expresses this. لَقَدْ تَرَكَنِي الدَّعِيَّ ابْنَ الدَّعِيِّ, acclaimed son of acclaimed father, has given me an option between the spilling of my blood and between humility. And then he responds, "Ya Aballah lana dhalik wa rasuluhu wal mu'minun." Hayhat min Abdullah, he says, "Hayhat min Abdullah." Far be from us humility. Allah does not allow it, His Messenger does not allow it, and the believers do not allow it. He is talking about utmost standards of righteousness. Allah does not allow me to do this. I am duty bound to God. His Messenger does not allow me. So in the first instance, it is that deep-seated connection with Allah that he brings out that, look, my sense of godliness, spirituality will not allow me to do this, because I'm compromising myself inside by preferring the safety and security and life of this world over my commitment to Allah, who I say, "La ilaha illallah." If I say "La ilaha illallah," then no fear should overpower me. I will not give myself to Yazid's bay'ah due to my inner anxieties and inner insecurities. Wa Rasuluhu, the Messenger does not allow this. The reason why he brings in Messenger is because my commitment to Islam, of the right and wrong of Islam, does not allow me. And finally, Al-Mu'minun, I am a standard for people to follow. And if I were to do this, this will become a historical precedent for the Mu'mineen to do this in the future. And I'm responsible in front of the Mu'mineen. How phenomenal is this Imam? At 3 levels he explains this. And then he commits himself that no matter what happens, I will not bow down to oppression, and I will not compromise my faith in Allah, my belonging, that I say, "Allah, there is no God but you. Whatever you decide is final and I will accept it." I will not compromise this status of dignity that I have with God intimately within my soul. And finally, I will not set a false, negative, wrong precedence for the people to follow. I find myself accountable in front of the people as well. This brings him at that pedestal where he appeals to humanity at large. In any case, once he makes this decision, then he's faced with the trial of the day of Ashura. It's a very traumatic experience. It is a very, very traumatic experience. Trust me. When an individual has to give his own life for what they believe is easier, trust me, This head will not bow to other than Allah. Do what you want. Do what you want. Rid it of money, of position, of dignity. Take its life away. Fine. Many souls have done that. But, my goodness, giving your companions and your family for the same conviction is a real test. And then, not giving yourself into the pressure in terms of complaining to Allah, moving away from righteous, dignified conduct on the day is another story altogether. Let's say that a person gives himself to the sword, yes? But there is no condition that whilst giving yourself to the sword that you will not scream and shout, you will not swear. Can you see that? But this man is so dignified, so upright, so righteous, so spiritual that he becomes a splendid icon for humanity for all times. He transcends faith. He embraces humanity and spirituality in its entirety. It's amazing how this man is. For your son to fall, and for you to then not to exclaim, not to cry out in an unbefitting manner, yes? Not to say, Allah, where are you? Why have you forsaken me? To say, oh Allah, why is all of this happening to me? Oh child, may Allah curse them all in a bitter fashion. I mean, of course, he did say, may Allah not have mercy on them, but in a very dignified manner. For a person to not lose his dignity is the greatest trial beyond the trial of having your head cut. Being so hungry and so thirsty and not losing your human composure shows how accomplished the soul is. It's amazing. Not only that, but to increase in spirituality, in dignity, in righteousness, in the state of being upright and stable, in the state of being more spiritual. My goodness, which soul can achieve this amid striking blades and cutting limbs? But we see Hussein Nadi as he goes through the day of Ashura, the greater the tribulations, the greater his refinement of soul, character, behavior, being, dignity, and spiritual commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't find this in a person. And finally, if you can see, I'm just saying, even if you give your sons away, but trust me, and this is one test where I think a lot of people will fail, and I think majority of us would fail, is that when you see a little daughter, you see your women, and you see their state, the way Hussein ibn Ali saw their state. And to see that, no, they're going to loot the tents while he was still alive, they were advancing towards the tents to loot it. You know, one of the incidents on the day of Ashura. Amidst that, to remain dignified and to say, I trust in Allah. I really trust in Allah. This is something else. This is the substance of Hussein, the prophetic substance of Hussein. And that is why I say, all these arguments of Sunnis and Shias are redundant for me. Look at the man for what he is worth. Look at every one of them for what they are worth, and you will see what a man is worth. Forget all the texts to one side. Any human mind assessing Hussein ibn Ali will come out with this judgment that he is of a prophetic substance. The man is a saint of all saints. You don't need any more testimonials for him. As they were advancing towards his tents, you know what he said? He said, kill me first, then go to them. As Zainab cried, he said, don't tear the arteries of my heart, dear sister. Your cries will know no end after I have been killed. Acknowledging that. Imagine. Think about this. So here is a man who has committed himself verbally, and Allah has put him to the test, and he has come through that test. Not only has he come through by going through the trials, he has been very dignified about it, very calm about it, very respectful. Not only has he been very dignified, he has actually used the tribulations as a means to gaining greater refinement of his spirit, greater proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is absolved of his own inadequacies, and he fully embraces Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at that level amidst that unbearable trial. This is what makes Imam Hussein an icon for humanity at large. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal-Asr. Inna al-insana lafi khusr. Illa alladhina amanu wa amilu s-salihat wa tawasaw bil-haqq wa tawasaw bis-sabr.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمسابنا بأمي عبد الله الحسين عليه الصلاة والسلام. The other thing that Imam Hussain Salamullah alayhi teaches us, and this motivates us to do something in this worldly life of ours, is that he says there are minimal standards for human existence as humans. A human being must exist by the standards of human dignity. They cannot fall below human dignity. Even if there is no God involved, even if there is no further responsibility, a human being, by virtue of being a human being, is bound to exist by certain standards through human dignity. He said, I will not stoop to that level. And he set out to his foes that even if you don't believe in Allah, in accountability on the day of judgment, at least abide by human values. It is not something that a human being ought to do what you are doing. If we were to understand that, imagine how different this world would become. Today, we had the Brexit vote, didn't we? Many of the people voted for Britain to exit due to the problem of immigration. And their understanding was that these people are coming and taking our jobs, our housing, and our money, and our wealth. We asked them, would you do the work that they are doing? No. Nobody would do the work. But still, they did not want these people who came from poorer countries to come here and to take their jobs which they themselves were not ready to do. It is here that humanity falls below a level of human dignity. That there is no care for the other. Leave aside what Hussein taught, reliance on Allah and His better judgment. Put all of that to one side. There is something known as human dignity, human standards, below which no human being should fall. That is what Hussein Nabi is teaching. He's saying, how can you be so unkind to the other? And when you are so unkind to the other, can God ever be kind to you? This world has a mind of her own. She's a mother. She is seeing some of her children not being kind to others of her children. Do you think after that this mother of ours will be as compassionate to us? Even if you take God out of the picture altogether? And when you remind us of our history in Britain, we have colonized the world, we have pillaged, raped the world we have. We have left the world in a mess. What do you expect? Who went to Iraq? We did. After that, the death toll in Iraq and Syria has reached over 1 million people. Who's going to take responsibility for this? By Allah, we guys are guilty. We have committed crimes against humanity. Me, you, our government, we are all guilty. And on top of that, we are so worldly. We have descended from the pedestal of humanity that we do not want to show care to the other. Is this our attitude? Is this what we have become today? I am not saying Britain is doing that. I'm saying you and me are doing it. Because Ziyarah Hussain said what? And the ummah that stood by watching you get killed. Me and you are the ummah in whose name our country is proposing many things which are inhumane and below human dignity. If you look at the party conference of the Conservative Party, you will see the tone against the immigrants. Is this what we have become? Really? And the politicians are only there to get a vote no matter what. They will always go in line with the tide in order for them to come into power. Imam Hussain stood against this. He said it is not worth it. Rely on Allah and maintain those human principles and abide by human Morals, there are certain things below which you can never fall as a human being. If you fall below that, then your existence becomes null and void. So I will repeat to us what Imam Hussain said on the day of Ashura. Even if we are not afraid of the consequences of what we are doing, that this world will not be merciful to us, and our Lord will not be merciful to us, I repeat the same sentiments that Hussain told us. This is below human dignity. This is not where a human being belongs. I say this because, me and you, we are very lazy people. We feel things are done in our name. When things are done in our name, it is done on our behalf and we share the burden of responsibility. We need to speak up. We need to rally our councillors and our MPs and tell them this is wrong. Our mosques need to speak. Our churches need to speak. The synagogues, the gurudwaras, the Buddhist temples need to speak. The faithful community needs to speak and say this is wrong. These morals, these values that you're promoting right now are below those expected from a human being. These are below human dignity. And whatever we've done across the world, we need to bear responsibility for that. So when we bomb Iraq and we want to oust Assad, yes, I'm not saying Assad is good, he's also a war criminal, but he might be better than the opposition right now. Then do not cry about the refugees coming into Europe. You have been greedy enough to go and bomb them and rape their country and take their wealth. Now accept the refugees that are coming from there. Accept them. You've done this. But on that note, I will also say this, that Imam Hussain needs to be understood by humanity at large, seriously, especially by Iran and Saudi Arabia. Yeah? I'm giving both of these examples because one is a Shia, one is Wahhabi and Sunni, or whatever they want to call themselves. Yes? Hussain was below and Hussain was above all of them. These refugees, for whose sake you guys are lamenting, how strange that none of them came to Iran or went to Saudi. You are Muslims, right? One of you follows Imam Ali as the first Imam, the other one follows Imam Ali as the fourth Khalifa, and Hazrat Abu Bakr, Hazrat Umar, Hazrat Uthman as the first three Khalifas. Why didn't any of these refugees go to Saudi Arabia or go to Iran? It's a question they need to ask themselves. Here, Imam Hussain becomes extremely relevant for humanity at large. And for me and you, our silence and crying and shifting the burden of responsibility to the shoulders of others is self-delusional. We are deluding ourselves. Seriously, me and you, on the day of Qiyamah, are equally responsible for what is happening in our name, in our country. We need to ensure that our country abides by supreme human standards and morals. This is what makes our country a worthy country. We need to make sure that we need to say to Iran and Saudi Arabia that both of you equally have descended from those supreme human morals and standards that you proclaim through the name of your Prophet and through the name of your Prophet and through your Imams and Imam Muslim. You need to introspect and look into yourself and say this without fear. I am not going to stand on the day of Qiyamah responsible to anybody but to my Lord and to my message and to the Prophet of my Lord. There will be nobody but nobody who comes there when I'm answering them, and it's my destiny. So fearlessly, like Hussain said, stand for human values at the very minimum, for human dignity at the very minimum, whether you believe in God or not. May Allah, for the sake of Hussain ibn Ali, grant us the tawfiq and enlighten our hearts to become righteous from within ourselves, trusting in God and upholding human values. Let us recite Fatiha for all our marhumin and for all those who are unfortunate around the world, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to change their misfortune into good fortune. Al-Fatiha. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى الطيبين الطاهرين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل وسلم على محمد المصطفى
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى علي المرتضى
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى فاطمة الزهراء
اللهم صل على محمد ومحمد
وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بأرض كربلاء
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي وحجة الله بن الحسن القائد المهدي